My Journey to Awakening, read by me, the author, Dr. Beatriz Olson. Would you not want to be the best version of yourself in this lifetime? Would you not want to be remembered after you died as someone who was authentic, deeply loved, and made a difference in the people around her? If the answer to these questions are yes, then you're either awakened or ready to be. The definition of awake is being roused from sleep or to have a cause to stop sleeping. For the purpose of this spiritual sharing with you, sleep or sleeping means that you're living and accepting your life as your lot or karmic destiny. Perhaps you have not had the time to question if the life you're living and the beliefs you have belong to you. Were your yearnings and dreams fulfilled? I have taken the time to ponder these and many more questions. I have gone through a journey of growth from disempowerment to empowerment, and I hope my story inspires you to use the midlife transition as your launchpad to a fuller and healthy lifespan. As a woman in her midlife, I understand what happens as we age and how we see ourselves. I am a Cuban woman who immigrated as a 12-year-old to America as a political refugee. I worked really hard to succeed at all ages of my life. I wanted my parents to know that their sacrifice of leaving our country mattered. My father, a pediatrician, was punished for being anti-Castro after the early recognition that Castro would take away everyone's empowerment and freedom. After many years of emotional angst, my parents left Cuba. 4 small children and no money, but filled with hope and possibility. We lived for a year in Madrid, Spain, until our turn in the quota came so we could enter America. This courageous and transformative choice that my parents made changed all of our lives. When I came to America, I started to eat processed foods, typical of the American diet. I went from a normal thin child to an obese teenager. There is a lot of bias against overweight and obese people, and many people let me know that I had a problem. My cousins called me fatso, and others called me spick. When you're a petite woman who is overweight, with an accent, and does not look like other people, it's not quite right. There are fewer jobs available at any age of our lives. I remember being told when I applied to be a server at the Scarsdale coffee shop that they could not consider me for a job because I was too short at 5 feet to reach the cash register. That day, I walked home crying, and my hard contact lenses scratched my corneas. I experienced severe pain and decreased vision. My body physically experienced the rejection I received in my heart's mind. Later on, I found limited compassion and perhaps prejudice from older others who strongly objected to the marriage of my husband and me, because his marrying me would prevent him from becoming a society doctor. I present my early experience for you to understand why all my life I aimed to be accepted, to please, and to try to belong. I share this because when you're an immigrant, you become the other. These early experiences affected me as a young person. Both my parents, medical professionals, worked all day. They could not be there to help me process that sense that something was seriously wrong with me, that I was not wanted or desired. These feelings early on disenfranchised me from my truth and myself. They took away my capacity to allow myself to be visible in my wholeness and created a sense of self-dissatisfaction. When others criticize you, sadly, it becomes part of you if you are young and not integrated. Early criticism not just hurts, but inevitably makes you become critical of yourself. You therefore may become perfectionistic in an effort to manage yourself and prevent further negative criticisms from others. Perfectionism is the jail of a mind full of potential and limited possibility to express this potential. I was fortunate to be born with an incredible amount of spirit energy, which allowed me to have high drive and curiosity despite the strange circumstances. I went on to get a great education and to try to figure out the weight gain and appetite problems. Since then, I have had a stable weight and have helped thousands of people do the same. I love living in my body. I honor it every day. In medical school, I got very busy and found a place to belong. I learned that having been a dancer with the Cuban ballet as a child and seeing the shaking hips of my relatives move to the Cuban music, I could help assist with choreographing our medical school's Bard Hall Players' yearly play, which happened to be Pippin by Stephen Schwartz. A sumptuous space of intimacy and joy. That's how I got to know my future husband. He saw and heard who I was, and I saw him and heard him. We began this conversation over champagne. Though coming from extremely different backgrounds, we were well met. We have had champagne for almost 42 years and counting. Becoming a doctor at Columbia Medical School, developing the lifelong friendships, discovering that there was goodness in me, that I could fall in love, that I help our community at the student and alumni level, was transformative to my well-being and self-esteem bank. I have been class chair along with Eric for the class of 1984. A lot of water has run under the bridge in those 4 decades. I became an internist, then a basic and clinical scientist after my endocrinology fellowship and work at the National Institutes of Health. We waited many years after marriage so we could be present for our children when they came. We had 2 daughters. They are now independent and successful women on their own. Being their mother humbled me from the time they were born. The love I felt when they were born taught me that perhaps my mother had loved me just as much when I came to the world. Being a mother tested me and at times brought me down to my knees, particularly as my daughters struggled to find their way back from illnesses or emotional setbacks. My societal mindsets and assumptions on motherhood helped and failed me. I tried my best at mothering. I was good enough, but never enough. When your mind has these beliefs and you have fixed ideas of what being a good mother is, there can be a lot of unnecessary suffering and questioning about the purpose and meaning of life. I would like to add that being married for 40 years is not easy, especially when you have two independent, high energy humans pursuing their professional lives and nurturing a family. I have learned that you can fall in and out of love multiple times, which reminds me, and perhaps might you, about the song Amy by Pure Prairie League. The feeling that it is possible to fall back in love is inspiring and doable. I have learned that making the effort to be friends, to have positive regard for each other, keeping emotional intimacy within, and seeing the newness that your partner is every day may be the answer to long marriages that are healthy within. I think it is crucial to understand what your needs are at this midlife stage of your life and that they are being met. If not, it is time to have a generative conversation, mutual growth orientation with your partner. How can we meet each other better? If you cannot discuss or come to new terms of agreement, then you have a choice to accept and create with what is, or to leave and create from without. Both ways can be rewarding if done wisely. Some of us women in more patriarchal and controlling societies may not have those choices. Then the only choice is to empower yourself to find joy in the space you are in. I am an integrative endocrinologist, a medical doctor who uses Western and Eastern science and philosophy to help women with hormonal transitions of life. I have learned, personally used, and taught meditation as a method to connect the mind and body. When our body and mind are integrated, we can access our more advanced brain, our wisdom, and spirit energy, so we can create the environment and make choices to be healthy and thrive during transitions. The midlife menopausal transition is a complex time. You may remember that when you went through puberty, when you had the hormone swings and mood changes of your monthly lunar menstrual cycle, and after you gave birth, that it caused shifts in you that, regardless of age, made you pay attention to your body and state of being. The menopause is another of those times. Our hormones go, and often no one helps to replace them. When hormones are replaced, we can regain our hormone balance. The loss of our hormones like estrogen and progesterone cause havoc. We have programmed at this time to stop contributing to the universe. Since we're beyond of the stage of fulfilling our tasks to replace and help the next generation survive. There was no evolutionary pressure for women to maintain their healthy levels of hormones. With the loss of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, we begin to age faster. It is unfair, but ancestral pressures over millennia created this pattern for women. In the past, we died early. In our modern world, we live longer but may not have a healthy lifespan. I do not believe we should accept this ancestral destiny physically or its effects on our minds, biology, and potential. I am a proponent of keeping healthy hormone levels as we age by replacing our hormones wisely if we do not have a genetic risk for breast cancer. Even though if we did not get hormone replacement, our brains and nerve cells do continue to work at this time. I found it rewarding during my transition to actively focus on creating and making new connections in my brain by engaging and learning new things. We can give ourselves the gift of trying new things just for fun and without judgment. The midlife is a time when life outside of us is also changing. Our children have gone to university and colleges and are finding their own lives. This is a time of transitions for our own intimate relations. It is good to spend time to reassess and perhaps redefine our focus and connection to our children and partners. This is an opportunity to awaken and question everything thoughtfully and compassionately. When we're in this period of our lives, we have gathered so much experience, resilience, and grit. We have serious wisdom and developed a full and soulful heart. When we embrace and connect to these inner powers that we own, we catapult ourselves to a new level of being, a level where we let go of facades we have used to hide ourselves. We let go of trying so hard, which is depleting when in fact we have done more than enough. It is a time to shed old mindsets and fear-based behaviors that limit our potential about who we are and what we can and cannot do. When we wake up and embrace our wholeness, we recognize that our worth was never negotiable. We were born into this world where we inherently belong. Know that we're now the wise women. We have unique gifts to give to the world with our presence. Let's get up from our sleep and awaken. Awaken to our truth, potential, and new horizons. This has been a recording of my chapter in the book Midlife Awakening, edited by Cathy Derksen. Thank you for listening.